I'm going to show you the 11 Pro Max screen replacement. First, you want to start by heating it up on the heat pad for about 5 minutes on 70 Celsius. If you don't have a heat pad, then you can heat up the front of the screen around the edges until it's hot to the touch. After heating up the front of the screen, the next step, you want to go ahead and take off these screws down here with the Penelope screwdriver. Make sure the screws are clean and there's no debris in there, because if there is, you can strip these screws on the bottom and it'll be very difficult to get these screws off and you won't be able to get the screen out. And the next step from here, you want to go ahead and use a suction cup if you have one of those and a thin pry tool. Pull up on the suction cup and get your thin pry tool in here in this little groove. Kind of use this thin tool to start it. And then I like to switch to the thicker pry tool just to have more power on this to go ahead and open that screen. Just kind of slide it in about maybe 1 millimeter, kind of slide and lift up, slide and lift up. And then just be careful at the top with the front cameras up here. And fold it to your right. This phone has been opened before, so it's opening easier. I'll start with the next step. We have the Y driver, the Tri-Wing. First thing you want to do is locate the battery connector and disconnect the battery right away before you do anything. Before you unplug anything, you have to always unplug the battery, make sure there's no power running through the phone. And I like to use a spudger to get these little brackets off. And unplug that battery. Bend it back. And with the Y, with the Tri-Wing, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the more screws here. Get a good angle for you. Lift this bracket up and disconnect these 3 flex cables here. Just gently, you don't need too much pressure, just in and lift and just a little bit and pop it up, and your screen is off. And now I have it on the heat pad. I'm going to heat it up for about 5 minutes. All right, it's been 5 minutes now. So we have to remove the Tri-Wing screw here, and then we have a Phillips, 2 Phillips screws that we got to remove. right, I'm gonna use my spudger. Just like I said in previous videos, I like to use this syringe with iso alcohol. Go ahead and lift this up here backwards. And I like to put a little bit of ice under here, this alcohol, just to loosen up the adhesive. This phone is has been taken apart before, so it's coming off a lot easier. But usually it's stuck down. All three of these pieces are stuck down, usually pretty good with the adhesive. So you usually want to get underneath and kind of pop each one up. There, and then you got the microphone, and then usually you take off this sensor here. You got to be real careful. These are real delicate, real flimsy. All right, so now that we disassembled everything, now we're gonna be putting the parts back. So we're gonna put the earpiece back on the screen. Put this here. Kind of just line everything up where they go. Just kind of gently press down. Everything kind of has their own little area that they fit right into. Just slowly press it in. Once you got a good fit in there, you just fold this earpiece right over it. Should line up perfect. And then we'll start with the tri-wing screw first. Doesn't really matter which order. Doesn't have to go in a specific order. Kind of hold down on the earpiece while you're screwing this in. And then next we got the 2 Phillips screws we got to put in. Got one up here and one right there. Now that we're done with that, the next part, if you got adhesive for your screen, you can install a new adhesive. You can take off the old one. This helps hold the screen down and keep make it water resistant and help keep dirt from getting underneath the screen. So you just scrape all this off all the way around with maybe like a tweezers would work fine. Alright, I've gotten most of the adhesive off now. Last step, if you have some buildup of dirt still on the edges after scraping it with the tweezers, and next you can use a little cloth, and put some iso alcohol on there. And you can kind of clean it up by scrubbing it. Just be careful. There's a lot of components and motherboard right over here, and then you have the front camera right here, so you gotta be careful around there. You don't want to get any alcohol in the camera, that will damage it. So you don't want to put too much alcohol, just enough to get it a little damp. Kind of use like your fingernail when you're scrubbing this edge here to make it real clean. Just take your time on that, and then we'll move on to the next step after this. All right, now that everything's cleaned up on the edges as best as you can, sometimes your new screens will come with like an adhesive. So this is kind of what it looks like. So you just gotta match up all the parts together, like the camera holes here. Make sure they're matched up, and just get in there as good as you can. Line it up. Make sure everything's as close as you can get it. Once you match it up, I like to use this little spudger to kind of get the adhesive stuck down. Just be careful for the front camera and all these components over here. Just gently press on the adhesive onto the frame. No rush. Just get it down. Work your way around. Watch out for these little parts here. Don't want to break those. Just gently press down. This will help keep dirt from getting underneath your screen, helps hold the screen down a little tighter. Just kind of go over one more time, make sure it's stuck down good. Just be careful by the cameras. And then once you got it down good, just kind of, usually there's a corner that'll have a lip here that you can start pulling from. See if I can get a better angle for you. Right here. Just kind of pulled on this tab here. Just slowly work your way around. Kind of use a spudger, usually helps as you're pulling it back so the adhesive stays down on the frame. Got a little better angle so you can see the whole device. Slowly pull it up all the way around. And looks like there's one more layer you got to take off. You can start up here, pulling this piece off here. Just kind of press the adhesive down first, start pulling it up. Work your way all the way around. Once you do that, this will be done. All right, once you get the adhesive all complete, sometimes it doesn't lay down good or stick down good. It's not a big deal. This will just, it's good to have, but if it doesn't, the phone will still operate fine. If you have any glue, you can also glue the sides. This is a glue I like to use. You can also put those around, and that'll help keep the dirt out. No matter what, once you change the screen, the phone won't be as water resistant, but this is just a step to help, prevent water and dirt from getting in the screen. Now that we have that all set, we'll go ahead and do the last step. We'll go ahead and put the screen on. I like to turn it this angle. Make sure your battery is still unplugged. We'll go ahead and start plugging these flex cables in. So got those plugged in. Go ahead and put this bracket on here. Make sure everything's lined up. Make sure you keep all the screws usually right next to the brackets themselves, so you know where each screw goes. Last one right here. And then now that everything's done, we'll go ahead and plug in the battery last. Go ahead and put the last bracket, line it up. Twist it a couple times, not all the way down, just so you can kind of maneuver this plate a little bit. There you go. Now you can tighten it down all the way. And then from there you go ahead and close the screen. You start by closing up the top and the sides, the bottom, and put in the last two screws down here, and you'll be all set.